Data Science Bootcamp. Today is the most important day for us. Today is the most important for our bootcampers. Is the demo day. My name is Marcelino Lamichar. I'm Associate Director of Bootcamps. And in this very first moment, I would like to introduce you to two important people. First one, Ivan Martin, as an academic director. Ivan is the guilty that this program exists. He designed the content, he chooses the professors, etc., etc. And I would like to big thank to Barbara Fajardo. Barbara is the coordinator. Barbara set up everything, and Barbara accompanies the bootcampers last 6 months. And thank you so much. And I would like to thank as well to the professors. The best professors that we could have. In fact, in a few days, they will receive a diploma for their academic excellence. Congratulations. And please, big applause for them. And thank you so much for the students, for the boot campers. I think they have worked very hard last 6 months, 7 months. Probably they knew nothing about programming, coding, machine learning, math stats, I don't know. But today they are going to explain us the solutions for real challenges of real companies with real data sets. My recommendation is, please, the stage is yours and enjoy it. You have to enjoy last minutes as a marathon, for example. I ran a marathon in 2014, and I enjoy last minutes. But this is a similar situation. You need to enjoy last minutes in this presentation. I'm sure that your presentations will be fantastic. Will be awesome. I'm sure. And finally, today we have an excellent jury. It's a jury made up of 3 people. The first one is Javier Lopez Nova. He's a data and artificial intelligence hub coordinator in AMC Natural Drinks. It's a company of fruit juices and smoothies. Okay. And from Jungheinrich is a German company. We have two people. The first one is Michael Kurz, head of data analytics. And Juan Garballo, he is a data scientist and alumni of this bootcamp. And finally, we have our academic director, Ivan Martin, CTO at Influencer. And now, in this moment, Ivan is going to explain us the project that we are going to see today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcelino. So, here we are. How's the pressure feeling?
Good.
What pressure?
There is no pressure.
Good job, guys. It's been quite a few months dedicating a lot of your time, outside of work, outside of life, away from families, from traveling. And I see all of the effort, and we're going to see that today. We're going to see the result of that. I know that the hate for me increases the last few days, and it just suddenly today it just drops. I promise, it drops right after the presentation. I want to remind you something. Something I keep saying during the program quite a few times is we are presenting to yourself the first day of the program. Right? What happens there? Why is that a thing? Because it reminds you how much you did not know at the beginning. No? How much is like, oh, we all heard about this AI thing and this modeling and data science is so cool, but what is it? No? What are we trying to create? What I always say is that this program is not meant to only teach you the content, the technical content for you to be able to actually build those projects. It's also supposed to design around the way you learn. No? I've always said that it teaches you the way I would have liked to learn, in a way of, instead of trying to memorize, just trust me, memorize this because I'm the professor and this is important. The goal of the program is to design it in a way in which you guys develop the knowledge, develop the need for that knowledge on a practical case, no? With the companies that we're collaborating. If everything we learned, we saw it useful immediately, it would be very easy to learn it. The problem is when you have to memorize things that are just not useful. No? Today we're going to see the result of that. We're going to see the result of all of the Python that you've worked on, all the maths and stats you've worked on, visualization that you've done, learning, all the hard work the professors have put in, which I also like to thank you guys for the amazing dedication. And now we're going to see those 15-minute presentations trying to present the amazing project you guys have built. This is a moment of slight transition to the new way in which you guys learn not only data science, but also the way you learn it in life. If you've been able to do this in just 6 months or 5 months, imagine what you can do in the next 6 months. That's a bit the idea I'd like to communicate, and I see that I'm sure we'll see that today. So I think we're gonna be able to start right away. I don't want to delay it anymore. So AMC, please take the floor.
Caleb is going to start. It's online.
Hello, hello. You guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Al micro.
Yes, Caleb, yes. You can start.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Caleb Phillips. I would like to introduce you to Tropical Analytics. We are a data-driven company and aim to provide value for our clients by maximizing profit, minimizing losses, and enabling them to utilize their resources in the most efficient manner. Next slide, please. So this is our team today. We have Maite, Cesar, Sandra, me, Javi, and Manuel. Next slide, please. So AMC Natural Drinks is a juice company founded in Spain. They have 3 factories in Europe, 1 in Spain, 1 in Holland, and 1 in Portugal. They have 4 main categories: from concentrate, not from concentrate, smoothies, and freshly squeezed. To the average person, having a juice company might seem like easy business, but when you think about it, it's actually quite complicated because there's 4 main stages. There's farming and harvesting the fruit, producing the product, transporting the product, and then selling the product. And in those 4 stages, if you think about it, it has a short shelf life. When the product is farmed and harvested, the fruits have short shelf life. When they're being produced, they have a short shelf life. When they're being transported, they have a short shelf life. And finally, when they're being sold, there's also a short shelf life. So AMC has to do all these areas of the business very efficiently. And they've clearly done that because in the last 23 years, you can see they've grown by 600 million in revenue. I'll now pass it to Cesar for next steps.
First of all, we want to give you some context about the external analysis of the market. And in this case, the juice and the smoothie market is going to focus on the UK because it's one of the AMC's target markets. And this market is growing continuously in the last years. And this growth is driven by a few factors. One of these factors is the growing British concern about health and wellness, and this concern and this growth has increased the consumption of these kind of products. Then we have the innovation in the industry. Companies are developing new products and new flavors to impact in more consumers. Then we have the product diversification across in distribution channels and formats, and this growth is this is a proof of the growth that the market value in the last year in 2022 £1.5 billion, and is forecast to increase to reach £1.75 billion by 2027. Here we have a graph of the revenue of the usage market in the UK. This graph is in million of pounds, and this is the only time of the presentation that we are going to talk about million of pounds. Then my teammates are going to talk about volume, liters. And we can see that this year, in 2023, between this year and 2027, is going to be a very big increase of 13%. Here we have the problem statement. We can see Tony here in the right hand of the slide. Tony is the supply chain manager of AMC, and he contacted us because they have an issue to solve. They wanna improve their efficiency and productive model and the productivity model in all of the supply chain process, and they contact us to solve it due to the growth of the market. The objective of this challenge is to improve the demand forecasting, to optimize the inventory cost, to reduce the stocks, and to avoid the stockouts. And due to this challenge that Tony gave us, we are going to base all the project in this mantra, that is that the goal of forecasting is not to predict the future, but to tell you what you need to know to take meaningful action in the present. Now he's going to continue with Sandra.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Cesar. So let's take a look at this group here. We have the average senior citizen, reality TV star Kim Kardashian, the average toddler, ATP single male's #1 Novak Djokovic, and most of Generation Z and younger millennials. But what do they have in common? No. Keep going, please.
Yeah, it's not moving on YouTube.
Yeah, it's the streaming.
Está congelado
It's
esta pantalla.
Oh, one before. Okay, here we have it. They all drink juice. But maybe not the same kind of juice. Which is why AMC has developed different categories to cater to each taste and lifestyle. Here we have never from concentrate, smoothies, juice, and freshly squeezed. The never from concentrate is the bestseller so far in terms of volume and sales. Here you can find a mix of fruits, 100% natural, like diet for juicing and detox juices. From concentrate, which will give you a surprise liquid. It has a longer shelf life, there's enough focus on quality, and it's a high competitive price. You can think of this for a football mom who brings drinks for her kids at a team at a match. This is the perfect pick, as it is cheap, it is not as bland as water or carbonated soda. Smoothies is my personal favorite. It's made of pure fruit and is a great snack. Then we have juice, which is a wide variety and very affordable. And the freshly squeezed, which is a great part of the cake breakfast. And it is a weekly buy. The data we receive ranges from April 2018 to September 2023, and in installments of 4 weeks. Maite will explain you a little more about our data.
Sandra gave us information about the different juice that AMC sells, but now let's look at the other variables that we have. These are price per liter, income, volume, and some retailers such as Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Asda. And we also have 2 types of packaging. These are private label, which is when the retailers use its own label, but that doesn't manufacture the product. And we also have branded, that is when the manufacturer sells the product under its own label. One example of this is the Corte Inglés oatmeal. We have this example. This is the example of private label. And the example for branded is, for example, is the Alpro oatmeal. This plot shows us two important things. The first is that here we can see the three top categories by income. These are never from concentrate, smoothies, and from concentrate. And the second important thing is that here we can see each category has a consistent behavior because they are forming groups, and these groups we can see in different colors. So in order to predict the future behavior of each category, we take part of the majority part of the historical data, and this is called training data. And this training data help us to predict the remaining part of this historical data. That is called testing data. This is one important part because we can compare the testing data with the predictions, and in this state we can know which model is the best for our data. For our data, the best models were ARIMA, Prophet, and XGBoost. And here we can see one of the metrics, that is RMC metric, that is how many units, in this case liter, my model is of the real values. But maybe this is so complicated to understand. For this reason, the important thing here is a lower value indicate that my model is more accurate. And for this reason, we choose the lower values that we can see in green per each category, and we found the best model for this one. Now, Manuel will explain the external variables.
Thank you very much, Marta. Yes, as Maite was commenting, we receive a set of variables. However, it is important to consider also external variables. This can help us to improve the quality of the modeling. And in our case, what we decided is to choose three different types of variables. The first one is the average temperature, because we are talking about fruits. It's important, can be relevant for the estimations. But what we discover is that in reality, the second group of variables, which is the macroeconomic variables, are the ones that are playing the most important role right now. We all know that the macroeconomics are moving due to different factors, and what we discover is that the price is one of the most important drivers in the sales of juices. And of course, considering that we are talking about seasonality, we decided to include also the holiday season, because that affects directly the consumption, and we think it's important to include into the model. Now, what was the result of our effort? What we create is a model that is able to predict the top 5 categories divided by private label and brand, and to do a forecast of 12 months with a margin of 10% of average 10% of error, and with a metric like Mike explained before, that is representing the amount of liters that we are missing versus the reality. So how this can help to Tony to solve his problems? Here we have the historical volume sales of one category, which is NFCs. And before having this type of tools, what are the alternatives? How he can predict, or how he can decide how much juices to produce? One alternative could be, let's replicate the volume of the past. That's just copying the previous year into the new, and assuming that we will sell the same. It's a good alternative. I don't have any other option. But what if we are able to use a machine learning model to estimate what will be the next trend for the next year? As you can see, we have a better estimation. It's a more efficient number. And if you remember our problem statement, Tony needs to know how much needs to produce, how much in advance needs to be prepared to produce. And with this, we can see. And fortunately for us, as you can see, this prediction goes from March 2023 to March 2024. Fortunately for us, we are in November, so we have real data to validate how we did perform. And here we can see in this new blue line the real sales, the information that our clients share with us, and we can see that we're not that bad. We are inside this margin of error that we have anticipated. So now Tony has a better tool to do predictions instead of just using past experience. And with this, I will let Javi to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, let's see what are the advantages of using our model. You remember Tony, the supply chain manager, is hyper happy today because he knows how many liters they are going to sell in the following 12 months. So here we have a forecast for the next 12 months compared with this year. And although we see that is in general a decrease of the trend, I want to highlight that here we're talking about volume, not money. So we will see that the income, the revenue, the money is increasing. So it's not that bad. Also, we were talking with Javier, with our client, and he told us that he expected this drop. So we can say that our model is working kind of well. According to our forecast, there is one category that is winning, is from concentrate, that is increasing at 5%, and the bestseller, the blue one, is decreasing a little bit. And in general, AMC is going to sell 4% less liters like this the next year. So we go deeper and we bring some conclusions to Tony. And we realize that the prices have increased a lot in the last year, and consumers are moving to cheaper categories. Also, we can see here that they are moving from the blue one to the green one. And the third point is very important, is that the market, the AMC market, is growing in economic terms by selling less amount of volume. So we have in this graph an example of the trend of the income that is in green, that is increasing, and the trend of the demand in black that is decreasing. So there is a gap that is covered by the price that is increasing. So we expect that for 2024 you have to increase a little bit more the price. Sorry. And finally, we find that it's essential to predict the demand in order to improve the supply chain efficiency. Well, I cannot give you a real value for the impact, the economic impact, but I can tell you that with our model, you are going to be able to save making 35 million of bottles like this, of 1 liter, that is like 30 Santiago Bernabeu's stack. And you need a lot of inherent tracks to move all of them. Also, you will avoid overstock, you will reduce waste, and the most important thing probably is that you can set the prices, the strategy for the price in advance. And finally, Sandra will continue online.
And for our next steps, we would like to start with a knowledge transfer session, followed by we would like to implement daily and weekly data. Also, given the opportunity, we would like to work with production costs and revenue. We'll give a more specific model, and we will be able to address issues more directly. Also, demographic data. And finally, we will develop an interactive dashboard for easy business planning. On behalf of Tropical Analytics, we would like to thank you for this opportunity, your time and attention, and a special thank you to Tony.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to start?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for all the team, for your compromise and all the hard work that you did in the last month. I worked close with all of you, and I have to say they're a great team, and congratulations, all of them. Thank you for the presentation, quite good for the first business presentation, in my opinion, is very on the trend. And as you said, the market is doing the same, that you predict. higher prices, less volume, but more value. We have to have a very challenge in front of us, and these tools could help us to be more competitive. I will do one question. I will ask how could the performance of the model be improved for the future? Not just, I know that you talk on weekly data, but do you have any idea that can provide more information or something like that?
I think one of the value added or the additional insights that we can get is the demographic information.
Mm-hmm.
That will help you to be more focalized, because at the end we are targeting right now whole UK, but at the end the market will be very different depending on the area. And this means that we don't need to go at store level, but big areas will be very helpful, and I think that will do a powerful change on the model.
Okay, completely agree.
Thanks a lot for your presentation, for your effort. What I would like to know is, what was the biggest challenge for you as a team during this project, and how did you deal with this?
Well, at the beginning it was difficult to know how to work as a team, because we all have the same task. We don't know how to split it, or that's something that we learn by doing. And also that is very difficult, not difficult, but a problem, not a problem. But the data is aggregated in 28 days, so it's not a month, and it doesn't fit the 12 months. We have 13 months every year of 28 days. So that's a little bit complicated to deal with, but we could do it. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So on my side, first of all, congratulations. Congratulations. I mean, as a former bootcamper as well, I know the amount of work you have put in this, and the amount of knowledge you acquire throughout the program. So congratulations on that. So my question is perhaps a little bit related to the models. You mentioned that you have tried ARIMA, Prophet, and XGBoost. Could you comment a little bit on your selection process? So why you decide to move from ARIMA to another one Yeah, just.
We tried with different models, not only ARIMA, Prophet, and XGBoost, and we tried with specific ARIMA and Prophet because they are the best in time series.
Mm-hmm.
XGBoost because we think it's a good model to predict, so it's for the reason, and because you can add different external variables and they work in good too.
Okay.
So yeah, one thing is that we only had the information of the sales. We didn't have so many extra columns that we can add to the model. So that's why the time series model works better with us.
Okay, I see.
Great, guys. So
have questions, right?
of course, as promised. Okay, so we clearly have a product that depends a lot on behavior. As you said, the weather, for example, can change. If people have, if it's cold, people probably consume more or less, or like there might be a lot of differences in that. No, also the production of that fruit must be complicated. I assume that they don't throw it away if it's not produced. They have to plan for it. So this model was extremely necessary for a company like this to try to plan ahead. You mentioned as well that you had the weather, you had the demographic. You would have liked the demographics, no? But you had the weather data, you had the inflation you mentioned, no? And there's usually a common mistake in the way this kind of data is used, because it uses information that you have from the future. Like in the future, I know if it was sunny or not a month ago, but how do you avoid and how do you plan to be able to use that data ahead? Could you explain that, please?
Thank you. The question, I think it's very important to understand, because you cannot use a model to predict the future using future data. That would be nonsense. So what we did is, in the case of inflation, which was the most important variable that we found, is that instead of using the exact inflation value, what we create is an index that is a rolling average of the past 12 months. That means that I don't need to know what will be the inflation next month. I know what is the average of the past 12 months. And that's something that I can get. That's information that I will use. So with this, I'm preventing the model to depend on information that is not available at the moment that I want to do the predictions.
And how do you do that with the temperature? Because inflation is something that does evolve, but temperature is kind of constant, no? Like in winter it's cold every time. Slightly more cold or less cold, but how did you do that with temperature?
I think I can explain this better with an example. For example, if I want to predict August, I take the August of the last 2 years and I calculate the mean and I apply this for my model. And I have some plots. This is the matrix if I add external variables for each category. And for example, for not concentrate external variable that improve my model is holidays. That is good because we know which months are in holiday. And for example, for smoothies is the temperature, and I did the example that I gave you.
Okay, so clearly, and was there any difference between different categories? Like, was it significant? One of the categories was affected by temperature more than the others?
Yeah. The external variables affect different for each category.
Oh, that's surprising. Great. Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations. So our next group is going to be Jungheinrich, so please take the floor.
Hello everybody, thank you for joining us today. Very quickly I'm going to present you the international data scientist team that has been working in this project. We have Feli, she's today online. We have Guillermo, Marco, Daniel, and myself. I am Javier. This is how we are going to spend the next 15 minutes. Of course, we are going to talk about the company, the problem, the goal, and the value proposition. We will talk about the understanding the data, the predictive model, and of course the execution of all these projects. So basically about the client. Our client is Jungheinrich. They are a leading intralogistic provider. They are specialized in material handling and warehouse storage. You may see here in this image, they have a big portfolio of machinery for material handling, from small hand pallet truck to very big heavy equipment. Nowadays they have presence in approximately 80 countries. And in 2022, they have a revenue about 5 billion euros. So, we have just passed Black Friday last week. Probably many of you have seen all those in the news, all those images of a massive warehouse with a lot of machinery. And one may think that the owner of the warehouse is the owner of all that machinery. But that, in many cases, that's not quite true. Many of those machines are rented. And of course, Jungheinrich has a big rental service. Currently, nowadays, Jungheinrich rental service it buys about 50% of the machines that they are producing. So, Black Friday, Christmas campaign, you may imagine that all the clients, all the companies around the world, they are in a rush, asking for new equipment to be able to move all the goods in the warehouse to prepare all the logistics. They want to extend the contract. Moreover, as well, you can imagine that it's not the same managing a market the size of the United States or a market the size of Vatican City. It's completely different. Currently, Jungheinrich has a good team of expertise working in this department, and they are trying to do their best to be able to match the demand and to meet all their client necessities. The point is that currently they are not using data analytics to do that work. So basically, every year there is a limited amount of tracks that they are not being used. And moreover, there is a big risk that some customer can demand that they cannot cover it. So the goal is to be able to predict 12 months in advance to help them to accurately predict the set of the field. Basically, we want to help them to put the right track in the right place at the right time. But how? We received from Jungheinrich some different data sets. First of all, we received for 3 different size markets: small, medium, and big, where medium is just for you to have an idea, 6 times bigger than a small, and big is around 26 times bigger than a small. We also have the time series that is daily data about the size of the fleet and about how many rented trucks are in the fleet. And we have another data set which is including where is every single truck, which client, which industry, the length of the contract. It's important to say right now that due to confidentiality reason, all the graphs that you will see today, they are in percentages in a scale 0 to 1, just in order not to disclose some relevant information. So what have we been doing? We have been working really hard for the last 7 months, since May. First of all, understanding the data. It's quite important to check, okay, what is the data I do have? How is the data behavior? What is happening in the industry? Of course, testing model, checking the model, okay, which is the best performance model that we do have. And with that, we reached this very interesting conclusion that we will share at the end. Now I will hand it to Danny to start with the data itself.
Okay, now we are going to take a look at the data. Here we got a graph with the drugs demand of the 3 markets. As you can see, the difference of size in the 3 markets make this graph very hard to analyze, so let's put it on the scale. Okay. As you can see, the trend is positive, and they behave similarly with some exceptions. For example, the circles highlight a drop in the demand in the medium market by the end of the summer that does not happen in the other 2. As can be seen in the colorized area, the last quarter is the best time in all markets due to the increase in retail sales. As Marco will explain later, retailers represent a large percent of Jungheinrich customers. Well, this is a bit technical, but let me explain it quickly. This chart represents how its data is correlated with its past values. As our data is daily, each point represents a day. Let's focus on the big one. We can see a 7-day pattern with the Mondays highly correlated between them that show a strong weekly correlation. This is less clear in the medium country and very subtle in the small one. Well, this will have an explanation. Marco will explain it later, but the less than a week contract have more weight in the big market than in the other 2. Being aware of these seasonalities and patterns allow us to understand better the data and make better models. Now, Marco will continue with the data.
Thanks, Danny. Well, now I will present 3 analyses we made of the number of contracts. And these are categorized by division, by truck type, and by contract length. I will start by division. By division, as we can see in the pie chart, there is 3 top industries or divisions that are accounting about the 76% of the total number of contracts. But if we split it by market size, big, medium, small, and we can see that there is also the high preference for these 3 divisions. But there is a specific, depending on the market size, that has a high preference for every type of division. For example, in the retail, there's a preference for the medium-sized market. In the manufacturing, we can see there's a preference for the big size, and in the transport is a preference for the small-size market. Well, now we'll explain it by truck type. By truck type, it's mostly the same when we speak about the number of contracts. In this case, it's 73%. But this time I want to speak specifically about the first three types of trucks. The electric counterbalance for lift truck, there is a picture there so you can get how it looks like. It's kind of more balanced if we split it by country. But it would make a better look at the other two types of other type of trucks, sorry. We can see that there's obviously kind of inverse relationship. For example, in the big size market, we can see there's a big preference in high lift trucks, and the opposite in the other two markets. And happens the same in the pedestrian pallet trucks. There is a high preference for the mid and small market, but it's not that much of a preference for the big market. Finally, I will speak about the contract length. As Daniel previously said, there is obviously a high preference for the short-term contracts in the big size market. But when we compare it for the other two type of market size, we can see they're kind of balanced, but they have a slightly inclination toward to a long-term contracts. Well, now I give it to Feli. She's online to explain that part of the contract next.
Thank you. So, well, one very important point of our problem is that we need to predict flex rental demand. This means that the customers are able to change the duration of their contract almost whenever they want. So what we have in this graph here is an analysis that is telling us for each country that we were working with, which was the percentage of contracts that were reduced, extended, or remaining with the same agreed length that they have decided at the time that they create the contract. This is a very important insight because this can help the planning team to better predict the fleet size. One derivative of this insight is then to create like kind of a classification model to be able to know at the very beginning of the contract if it is going to be reduced or extended or not. One more slide, please. Here we have a similar analysis to the one that was shown by Marco. We have the industries on the left side, and they are ordered by market share. But we have here as well the percentage of contracts that were reduced or extended per industry. So this is like very important because if we have a contract that is coming for example, from the retail industry, we know that almost 20% of them are likely to be reduced. One more, please. And here we have the same analysis, but now open by truck category. So what we have highlighted here are the truck categories that has a lot of market share and also a lot of percentage of reduced contracts. So in the end, the three slides that I was explaining is for giving you the idea that when we have information about the industry of the client and the product that they want to rent, we can be able to predict if their contract is going to be reduced, extended, or not. So this can avoid maybe the company to buy a new truck for a new customer in the future, maybe. And now German will continue with the models.
Thank you, Feli. So let's take a quick trip back to the beginning of the presentation. The beginning of the presentation when Javi was explaining the data we received and the problem we had. So as we can see in the slide, we had a forecasting problem because we want to predict a value on the future. Time series data, which basically means we have two columns, one with the date and one with the value we want to predict in the future. And they asked us for 1 year forecast. So taking all this into account, we developed these four models. Like they use the different techniques, so we tried them all, and they could fit into our problem. So the ARIMA model is more as a statistical model than machine learning, but we tried. We also tried a deep learning model, that is the LSTM, and we also tried Prophet. But our main model that we're going to present today is the Prophet. sorry, the XGBoost, that is the one that developed the best results. So here are the results for the three markets. As you can see in the graph, you will use a large proportion of the data we received to train the model, and then 20% of the data to test it. So that, as you can see, the training data fits very well with the forecast, because we have the two lines, the real data and the predicted, one over the other, so it overlaps. And then when we get to a test, that is when it splits a bit. And well, the results are, in the big market, we had a 2.11% of error, in the medium market and 2.65, and the largest error is also in the smallest market, that is 3.85%. And now Javi will tell us the valuable insight we obtained with this model.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. So, how can all of this help Jungheinrich? Let's take an hypothesis. Let's travel to the past. What would have happened if they had had these models 3 years ago, when the data that we received started? Basically, here in this graph, what you are seeing is the green line is the actual rented tracks that they do have. The blue line is the size of the fleet, the real size of the fleet during those days. And the orange line, what we do see, is corrected prediction. What is this? This is the prediction of our model plus the error, because of course we need to make sure that the model is never under the real demand. And additionally, we have added a security radio. We just took an hypothesis, 5%, because some tracks are in maintenance, some tracks are in transit, so that's something that needs to be taken into account. You see some nice percentage above. Basically, we have current usage radio. What is that? This is the amount of the fleet that they were using. Basically, it's the division of the green line split by the blue line. So they were using more or less 77, 78%. Let's think, okay, what would have happened instead of having a fleet the size of the blue line? We would have had a fleet, the orange one, what was predicted. If they have done that, they would have had a ratio of 93, 91% for each country. What does that mean? That means that between two lines, currently they have a safety ratio of machines that they can use for other things. Of course, that's something that needs to be optimized. The security radio, of course, needs to be checked with the real information from Jungheinrich. But with the safety margin, you can deflate format, you can sell some tracks in the second-hand market, you can just put an order later, or you can try to cover new demands from the client. So, what for next step? That's our recommendation about the model. As we explained at the very beginning, we just ran 3 years. Actually, we are running after COVID year, so COVID, all of us know that it's a big impact on demand. So running the model with more data, more years, newer data, and also some years before the COVID, we think could be quite interesting. We have just run 3 markets. Jungheinrich had a lot of them, so cross-checking this model with some markets, same says that the one that we have used, will also help to validate, okay, the model is also working for other markets exactly the same way or not. Additionally, as Marco presented, there is a big preference depending on the market for some type of track, for some type of industry. So also taking a look and ever just running the model for one specific category of track, one specific, I don't know, retail, machinery, whatever, also could help a bit to have better understanding of what are the needs of the market. And finally, and this is linked with what Felicitas presented, we have seen that many customers are likely to reduce or extend the contract. So running a classification model just to check very in advance, very soon since the beginning, okay, when I ask for any contract, it's likely that it's going to be reduced. Is this customer asking me really the proper numbers they do want? That's also, I think, is quite available information for all the commercial market of the rental business. So, on behalf of the team, thank you very much. Thank you to the professor and to all IE staff, and thank you very much to Jungheinrich because they have let us learn and play with the data.
Thank you so much, guys. first of all, I know firsthand that you have been working on this a lot lately, and well, especially given that the data had some constraints. Also, I think it was very resourceful of you. It showed a lot of resourcefulness that you were able to provide actually this first shot, and this was actually very useful for us because we have this is our first attempt to do this in the company, and so this is definitely something that we'll build upon. So my question has to do with in the last slide, you were proposing this classification model, and yeah, perhaps you could let us know a little bit about the difficulties, why this couldn't be done with the data, and go a little bit about what you think could be necessary to do this.
Well, actually about this model, we tried to do that, but the problem is, perfectly defined. The way we have received the data, we don't have the exact duration of the contract. I mean, we will have an interval. Mm-hmm. It's the interval that Marco presented, 7 days, 14 days, and at what point from 180 to 360. That means that when we try to know how many contracts have been reduced, we have limited information. I mean, if one contract was 350 days and we have reduced to 300 days, we cannot see that with the data we have currently. So that's why we say here, try to use the real length in this. I think this is the main constraint that we have found to have a proper working model regarding that. Mm-hmm. Moreover, if we have to do some recommendation about what to add to this model, of course, we see that it's quite relevant, the category of the track, because not all of them are the same. The duration, we have already talked about that, it's what we want to predict. It's also quite interesting to think about the industry. Not all the industries behave exactly the same. And additionally, we think that it's also quite good to add the month. Because in the end you see a trend upwards in all countries by the end of the year. So normally it's not going to be the same October, December, November than it's going to be in January or February. So those are the variables that we would include at least as a beginning to predict that.
So if I got that right, contracts would be more likely to be extended towards the end of the year. Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah, okay.
And reduce it toward the starting of the year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yeah, and just about industry versus track type, which do you think could be more relevant, or do you think is equally?
I think both are relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's also depending on the market, because you have seen that not all the market has the same preference for the same track.
Okay. Good.
So both of them I think are relevant to include in the model.
Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you. Thank you to the whole team. I'm very excited about the approach and the results, and I think you gained a deep knowledge of the intralogistics industry in this few months, and you very good understood the business model of the rental business at Jungheinrich. What I would like to know, in the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that at the moment there are people doing this planning about the fleet size. How do we convince these people, who are normally not data scientists, that they can believe in your results and that they can base their planning on your facts and figures you presented here?
Well, go ahead. Thank you, Javi. So, well, this is not an exact science, I would say. So this is more machine learning. So the model predicts daily, but that we have an error, that error has to be taken into account. And even in that moment, because it's a mean error, it's the error of all the days we've tried. So maybe that in a certain day, the error is higher than the one we showed, because it's the mean. Sorry, the microphone. And I mean, the expertise of Jungheinrich's people, it's still needed, because this model is not magic. So it can predict like more of an interval of the demand that that you are going to have in certain days or certain times, but it's not like a replacement or even an exact solution. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay, thanks.
Please. congratulations for the presentation, and I understand a little bit more the logistics machinery and have more power negotiation with potential clients. Regarding the data, you know, the quality of the data is always one of the most important part of this analysis. Have you taken into account the outliers in the data, and if so, have you implemented any outlier detection or mitigation strategy?
So the outliers on the time series, they were barely anything, because the market was highly stable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a consistent growth, and they're not from one day to another. There's a lot of changes. So that we didn't have to contain the outliers, because we didn't have.
Okay. No. Good.
So that was important.
Hi guys. I'm just building up the pressure, don't worry. So, you've said a lot of interesting things. I mentioned this last point of being able to figure out in advance if someone is going to reduce a contract, or what the insight you just mentioned, no? The beginning of the year, end of the year. Of course, from a planning purpose, trying to figure out which trucks to buy, it's something interesting to know if the contract is going to be cancelled, no? Or going to be reduced. So, I assume that the logic would be, no, we already plan for those contracts being reduced. Therefore, this could allow us to improve. But then you mentioned something that surprises me, no? There's a very significant difference between the trucks that are used in one country versus the other, which, from my little knowledge on the very, very insides of a warehouse, I assume that you need to move boxes that are more or less the same size, no? Like, those trucks move similar products. And I'm surprised that on average, there's such a significant difference between countries. Do you guys have figured out why would that be? Like, is it because they decide to sell they have different requirements, those countries, they have different sizes, warehouse sizes? What is the reason why that's happening?
Yeah, actually, when we analyze the data, we don't have enough information for our specific market. I mean, we can assume that there is a type of specific industry that is more needed in a specific type of market size, depending on the market size. Or it can be also the need that a warehouse, or the needs of the warehouse, or it can be also the type of machinery that is going to be needed for that specific season. So, in order to know why is this the big difference, it's obviously why the needs of the specific market size. We can say that every market type that we're giving to us has a specific needs, and that's all we can ask for that.
And when it comes to the type of trucks, is there also a very significant difference between like cancellation of contracts by truck? Like some trucks are cancelled more than others?
That's maybe for Feli.
Can't hear you. Yep. They're connecting your voice now.
Great.
Now we can hear you.
Great. So yeah, this is a significant difference between truck categories. That's why we show the graph with the percentage of reduced contracts per truck category. What we think that it's the most important thing to do, like onwards, is to focus on the highlighted categories, because are the ones that are more relevant in each of the countries and has the higher percentage of reduced contracts. So maybe also answering the question from Juan, I think, to improve this classification model that we were suggesting, you can also focus on one specific truck category or on one specific industry and develop like a more more adaptive model for each of the product categories or industries.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations.
Sí, it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Guys, I told you, you hate me less now, right? So, first of all, first thing I'd like to say is congratulations. You guys have done an amazing job. You've seen that we've had a lot of the knowledge that you have accumulated during this time was definitely not possible at the very beginning of the program. We can see the level of depth in which you've looked into the data. We can even see how you guys had slides. Like, I have more slides afterwards, can I share? Because I didn't have time to explain everything I've been able to explore. So I want to say I'm extremely proud of the work that you guys have done in this presentations, also in the whole bootcamp. It's been a pretty tough bootcamp. I have the feeling that it's been tough to catch up and work on some of the projects, so good luck, congratulations on that part. What we're going to have now is, well, as you guys know, you will get your corresponding certificates in the upcoming days, and you can have that on the office with Barbara. Barbara will be sharing it with you. And we're also going to have a cocktail now right after the presentation. We can enjoy on our streak and keep on, and then you can tell me what you really think about what you did. So this would be it. I am, as I said, I'm very, very happy with the result. It's been hard. It's been suffered. I've had conversations with some of you separately. We will have, we're going to be completely available also from now on. And there's one thing I want to tell you, which is you guys have become part of my network now. And what I mean by network, I refer to my net, which I use to hunt companies and to hunt students. You now have become what we call the alumni network. And there's an alumni network, basically. All of the previous alumni, as you may have noticed, some of them participate with us and they keep on bringing on more and more data and more interesting projects. You also saw that some of you interviewed with some of the alumni from the network at the beginning. And the intention is now you've become one of the 22nd edition of the program. You guys are the 21st, and we have the second running in parallel as well. I'm going to be very, very happy to keep on helping you guys throughout the projects and your corresponding careers. But I will also be counting on you to help the future alumni and alumni of the program to keep on contacting you in your corresponding companies and ask them for your experience, which I think is going to be absolutely amazing. So we will definitely keep in track and keep in touch to catch up on all of those things. I will definitely convince you to get your companies to bring on more data and more challenges to the bootcamp. And I think Martina would like to mention also the upcoming editions, right? Okay. So thank you very much, guys.
Okay, a couple of messages. Thank you for your support, thank you for your dedication, and congratulations for the result, for your presentations. The presentations have been very, very good. And in a few days, you will receive as well a digital diploma made with blockchain technology as well, okay? But important is the format paper, and all right? And a final message to the audience. Next intake will start on February 9th. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.